are listening to Weekend Debrief, a podcast of Grace Church in Dallas, Oregon, where we look back at the events and activities of the weekend in our church community and the world and talk about them in light of the gospel. Thank you for listening. Hey, welcome to Weekend Debrief. Pastor Dave here.
Pastor Wes.
And we are glad to recap the weekend and look forward a little bit to some things we have coming up. So, had a guest speaker.
Mike Mercer from Compassion First. It was good. I think I've heard him one other time, but it was good just to be able to hear his heart for that ministry and to get some updates on what's going on in Indonesia.
And not just that, but really giving us a biblical kind of framework around how we live our lives and how that impacts the joy we have in the Lord and those kinds of things. So. The satisfaction of life. Talked about that wellspring from Isaiah 58, right?
Right. Yeah, that was really good. And I think that is one of the things that it stood out to me is just the the care that we show towards others, the care that we show towards our family. One of the questions that he did ask was, regardless of people standing in society, when they walk into the church, do they feel loved and they feel cared for? And I think that's especially in the time and the season that we're in now as a country and as individuals, I think that's a hard question to ask, but a really important question that we have to ask too.
Yeah. Anybody, and that goes. I mean, he referred specifically to the kind of socioeconomic diversity.
Right.
So do you have rich and poor, and do they both feel comfortable and a part of the family, regardless of their wealth or status or those things? He also mentioned, generational diversity, racial diversity, ethnic diversity, as diverse as you can be in your setting.
Right.
But there's so many things we can think about. As someone walks in our door, regardless of who they are, or what baggage they come with, or background they have, do they feel welcome? Right. So that single mom who's coming in, kind of ashamed because she doesn't have a husband she's coming with, or the poor person who isn't able to dress as well as somebody else.
Right.
We are a predominantly white church, so someone from with a different skin color, a different ethnicity, or maybe with an accent come in, do they feel welcome?
Right.
That person who is coming in, battling, the sin that maybe has screwed up their life, and whether it's addiction of any sort or those kinds of things, do they feel like they're welcome here? I think those are all types of people, and there's many more we could identify, of course. But just thinking through, any of those people, there's so many reasons people are reluctant to come to church, and when they come in, do they immediately feel that welcome, that sense of being a part of the family?
Right.
Even before maybe they accept Christ, but they're welcomed and brought in and loved that way,
right? And
shown the love of Christ so that they can be, really come a part of the family.
Yeah. Well, and I think that one of the things with that is that we all have baggage.
Right.
We all have a past. We all have things that we have done that, pretty scriptural to say that we've all sinned.
Yep.
Right? And so we've all done things that separate us from God on our own. And so being able to recognize that I have no more right to Christ than the person walking in off the street who is struggling with an area of their life. And so they the love that we show them, and it should be an example of what we've experienced ourselves. So I think that's so important. One of the things that I think sometimes happen, it was just very encouraging to be able to hear all this taking place in Indonesia. And you've had the opportunity to go see firsthand the work that Compassion First is doing. We've heard from Valerie when they were attending here, and being able to hear firsthand from her. But if someone is in a position, maybe they'll never be able to experience that firsthand, and that just seems so far away, such a big problem to have to solve, and you feel kind of small, and how can I even make a difference? How can I make a difference with that? How can I make a difference just out of my front door? How do we encourage people to, I guess, kind of take that next step in their walk and really have an impact for Christ in the community?
Yeah, I think that's a good point because not everyone is called to travel overseas or have the means to do so. I would encourage people to do so, and hopefully after COVID and all that, we'll have some opportunities to reach out and maybe go, whether to Indonesia. I know. There's a couple of folks in our church that had planned to go this year, and it got postponed, and even other places. We have another missionary coming later this fall, and we're hoping to maybe do some trips down to Mexico where he ministers, and so there is that. I mean, that's something that can be a goal for people, and a lofty goal for some, but a really good one. I think it's good to go on those trips. But I think it's important too. There was a missions organization that we used to go with for our youth groups, and their slogan was Mission 51, meaning we go on a trip once a year for a week.
Okay.
But really, that is training for the other 51 weeks of mission that we have back at home.
Right.
And so it shouldn't be this high point and then the rest of the year is waiting for that next missions trip to come. But really we should view every week as an opportunity for the mission of God, which is to make disciples. That's our slogan, is worshiping God by making disciples. Right. So we can all be involved in that. And so you don't need to go to Indonesia to reach the poor. We have poor in our own community. Yeah. And we even work with organizations that try to meet that James 2 Bambinos. You don't need to go to Indonesia to help battle the sex trafficking industry. That's why we partner with the kind of sister organization Safety Compass, which is the domestic branch of what Compassion First does here in Oregon. So those are and that's even more formal. Beyond that, even there's the day-to-day praying for your neighborhood. It's greeting people at the grocery store. It's having that regular routine, whether it's at a coffee shop or where you get your gas or the Walmart checker or whatever, trying to find that person that you get to greet, on a regular basis and start to build that rapport with them. And that gives you opportunities to pray for them or to invite them to church or to an Easter service. When we're not in COVID and those kinds of things, So I think we can view every moment as that opportunity.
So it's really living with a missional type lifestyle, and that it's and really stretching us outside of our comfort zone. Right. That it's more, we have to be more about than just working 8 to 5, getting home, going in the house, shutting the door, and never interacting, never really seeking how God would have you use the other hours of your day.
Right. So, and that brings up another good point too, that even within our own families, we have a missions field, right? So my job is to disciple my wife well, and her me, but also for me with my kids, and so we should be taking care of business in our own homes, and there's constantly those opportunities to reach out and to do what we saw in Isaiah 58, to not have that ritualistic kind of worship, but the kind of worship that God wants of helping others, serving others, loving others, and prioritizing others. Yeah. So I think that's really good to remember.
Yeah. No, it was good to be challenged by that this weekend.
Yeah.
So coming up, one of the things that we're looking at actually next week. So we'll have more information towards the end of this week, depending on when you're watching this, but then definitely at the service on the 20th, we're having a week set aside. We're setting a week aside for prayer.
Yeah, Sunday to Sunday, 20th to the 27th.
Yeah. This is going to be a really good time. Just several topics for us to look at, from just the immediate concerns this last week with the fires going on, and so many people that have been displaced and have lost everything, but then our frontline workers, praying for them, the racial tensions in our country, the political climate, just praying that not only God would be at work, that we would be I think for me personally that I would be trusting in Him regardless of how anything turns out.
Right.
That we would be in a position to where we can say, okay, God, you've got this. None of this is surprising to you, and how it has turned out is how you've ordained it to be. So
right.
So what is the schedule? Can you tell us a little bit about how we're gonna do that prayer time? And
so we're gonna so I think it's gonna go out first in our Friday email, but then we'll also have instructions on Sunday of how to do this. But we're gonna have time slots set up throughout the day for people to sign up and say, I'm gonna pray during this time slot. And so our goal is to have basically every hour or block of time, some of the evening, like the nighttime things, I think we're doing in larger blocks. But basically that throughout the clock on each day of this upcoming week, that we have somebody in our church praying. And so we're just blanketing this entire week in prayer. And you don't need to pray for that entire time block. But for that time block, you're saying, I'm going to set aside time during this hour to stop and pray. So you can do it during a lunch hour, or your morning commute, or when you get home from work. Maybe you're a night owl and you're going to be up at 3 a.m, or maybe that's when you're getting home from work and you're still awake. You can set that time aside so that we have someone praying at all times.
That's good.
And we're doing it this upcoming week because it's typically would have been See You at the Pole, which is a youth prayer rally that was nationwide, started by a group of students that wanted to make a difference and decided to pray around their flagpole at their school, and it's turned into this nationwide phenomenon that happens every year. And so the youth are doing that, but this year with COVID, there's no schools in session, the public schools, and there's no all city rally like they normally do, because you can't get that many people together. So David was planning he is going to be doing a prayer emphasis with the youth group. And as we were talking and heard about another prayer event that we're not going to be as a church participating in, but another prayer event and a call to prayer that we heard about coming later in the month, we decided, it would be good for us to set aside some time for our church to pray and be about the ministry of prayer, which is another way we can do what we were talking about earlier of serving others, loving others.
Absolutely.
Is to be addressing these things in prayer. And I think there's a lot of talk out there about why are these fires happening. Is there somebody to blame? I've seen a lot of that. Who's to blame for the fires? There's and also COVID and all of that. Who is there? Someone we can blame for it? And then also just the with all of these things stacking up like they are this year, sometimes you wonder, is God trying to send us a message, or is this divine judgment because of our abortion laws in the U.S. or something? And I don't know. And I think if it were, we would have a clear, direct connection between the two. But what I do know is that it's caused me to go, oh, man, what is going on? It's caused me to question at times, is there some rhyme or reason to this? Is there someone still in control? And I have to stop myself and go back, yes, God is still in control. And we were talking at a staff meeting today, could it be that, if nothing else, this is God's way of trying to get our attention and saying, you think you had everything figured out. You had plans. You had, goals and vision and all that maybe for yourself, maybe us for our church, maybe our leaders for our nation. And it's God saying, no, I'm in control. And stop thinking that you're in control. You need to be reminded that you have no control.
I want your attention. No, I think that's a great point. And I know they've had several conversations over the last week of just having to be reminded of everything feels, from just a human standpoint, earthly standpoint, things feel out of control, out of whack. And so I think as you're talking about this, what is God? What is it that we can learn during this time? And then just to be reminded, this is not a surprise. It's not a surprise to God, and any trial that we go through, there's something that is there for us to learn, and even at the very simplest level, just trust God, have faith that He's not going to abandon us.
No, it's really good. Really good.
Yeah, well, that's good. So I'm looking forward to this. So on the prayer time, when we look at those blocks of time, so we could you can sign up individually.
Right.
Could sign up maybe as a family to take a block of time, or a grace group,
Yep.
or
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways to sign up, I think if grace groups got together and said we're going to pray together during this time,
Right.
or maybe we're going to take this longer block of time and divide it up,
Right.
or families would be great to spend time during that hour praying and
Right.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I think that was one of the things that some of the feedback that we heard when we were just doing the pre-recorded services and the times that families had watching the services and then having time to discuss. And it's just, this is kind of one of those things that I'm thinking, what a rich time for families to be able to say, all right, regardless of the age of your kids, but to hear your kids pray,
Right.
and to hear their heart. It's just, things aren't jaded. When kids are praying and just, you're like, wow, what an example of
Right.
how I need to be praying.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's not an agenda. It's just they're pouring their heart out to God, and so I think this could be a really rich time for families as they take advantage of this prayer week.
Yeah, so we'll have information coming out about how to sign up and,
Yep.
and that kind of thing. We're going to try to do an online sign
Right.
up for it.
Yep, we'll be working on that to have online sign up for you to select your time. So
Yeah.
that'd be really good.
Yeah, and then you'll be emailed the prayer topics you can pray about anything, but these are
Sure.
things to consider and guide your prayer time.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
so let's be a praying church. So
Let's do it. It'd be good.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your week, and thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, please text them in to the number that's in the show notes, and have a great rest of your week.
All right, we'll see you.
Oh, and by the way, we're kicking off a brand new series Sunday, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, there is that.
In the book of John, the I Am Statements of John, so we're excited about that
That'd be
coming
good
as well.
And we are praying that the books get here. In
Yes,
time.
they're
So,
still stuck in
yeah.
Portland because of the fires.
Right.
The Amazon is not delivering as much or as fast right now because of that, and so...
But one way or another, we'll have resources
Right.
that you can get started on, so you're not behind even if you don't have the books. So,
Right. So please be ready to join us on Sunday, either at 8, 9:30, or 11 here in person, or 9:30 in our live stream.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right.
So for sure now, we'll see you later.
All right.